Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Just Danny Show. I just wanted to come on here and give you an update on some of the things that are going on here in Claremont. Specifically, if you remember the lawsuit against the city, the gentleman Rod Geelan, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he is pro se. As you remember, just prior to Thanksgiving, he filed a lawsuit against the city and Jim Purvis as a defendant in regard to the city shutting down comments across all social media, and then specifically a nasty email that Councilman Jim Purvis, now deceased of course, sent to him, which was really pretty egregious in nature. But that was not unlike Jim Purvis, especially about 1 a.m. when he would drink his bourbon. Facts are facts. I don't mind talking ill of the dead if it's true. So when he would start drinking, and admittedly so, he admitted he did. He was a bourbon lover. He would go a little cry on social media, especially if you were to email him. He would respond pretty derogatory to you. So this gentleman, as you remember, I did a podcast on this where he was served with a summons along with the city of Claremont. I just wanted to give you an update on that. And then, of course, there was another little news flash in regard to a well-known, and I like to call him a precious little good old boy here in town that's tapping out. You may or may not have seen my latest Facebook post in regard to him, but if you didn't, I'm going to fill you in on that. And then we're just, for fun at the end here, we're just going to do a little sprinkling of the MLK parade that took place today. So this will be a real short podcast for you. So let's go ahead and dig in. We're going to start with the Rod Geelan lawsuit against the city. So I have this pulled up here, which is the docket. So last time I updated you on this particular lawsuit, there was a motion, of course, to dismiss. I told you all this was going to happen. The city of Claremont was most definitely going to file a motion to dismiss in regard to this case. And in fact, they did on December the 5th. Well, on December the 24th, Mr. Geelan, who again is pro se and suing the city of Claremont, filed a notice of service of interrogatories, which means he served the city of Claremont with interrogatories, basically just questions to answer. And then on December the 30th, he filed a notice of dropping parties named as Purvis in his official capacity as Claremont City Council member. And then January 4th, he e-recorded a document notice of dropping parties named as Purvis in his official capacity as Claremont City Council member because, of course, he dropped dead. So he had to, of course, amend his complaint, and which he did on the very next day. On January 5th, he made a motion to amend his complaint, which he did. Essentially, it states the same facts on which he relies. The only difference is he dropped Purvis's name as a defendant because he is deceased. So that complaint remains the same when I went over it with you back in November. And then on January the 11th, he filed a notice of taking deposition. So what he has done, which is brilliant, let me pull this up, which is really brilliant. I think it's hilarious. Plaintiff's notice of taking audio and visual deposition of defendant, which is now going to be just the city of Claremont because Purvis has deceased. So plaintiff's notice of taking audio and visual deposition, defendant, city of Claremont, its representatives and or agents. So he's deposing them is what he's doing. And he's arranged a date and a time and a place, in fact, to do this. So on Friday, February the 23rd, he is scheduled at 1 p.m. at Carr and Associates, which is located in Tavares, to have the city deposed and or its representatives. So he scheduled that. I mean, this man is just firing off these he's just firing off these filings, right? Boom, boom, boom. Notice of taking deposition. And then, of course, on January 12th, the very next day, he filed an objection opposing the defendant's motion to dismiss, which you're obviously able to do. And again, the city has remained mum. They haven't said a word since December the 5th when they filed their motion to dismiss against this guy. But this guy is he's hammering him, man. The only thing he did was, of course, which he should have done was drop Purvis as a defendant because, of course, he's deceased. And then just amended his complaint, again, essentially stating the same facts. Everything remains the same except up at the top, he's dropped Purvis as a defendant. So I think it's hilarious. Again, he is deposing them, and he filed an objection to their motion to dismiss. So let me pull up his objection to dismiss here. Comes now the plaintiff, Rob Geelan, pro se, hereby submits plaintiff's opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss and in support states the following. And then he just really basically just reiterates everything that was in his complaint regarding the summary. And then just added that on or about the month of December 2023, the co-defendant Jim Purvis passed away. And to update the court records, plaintiff filed a notice of dropping party Jim Purvis. In addition, pursuant to Florida Rule of Civil Procedure, plaintiff filed an amended complaint, which he did. The public policy of the state of Florida favors liberality and permitting amendments to pleading such that resolution of disputes associated therewith will be conducted on the merit thereof. Wherefore, for the reasons set forth above, plaintiff respectfully requests that this court enter an order dismissing defendant's motion to dismiss. Now, what I find quite interesting on this case, not only has the city remained mum, other than, of course, filing their motion to dismiss against this guy, the court has remained mum. Like this judge, who is the judge in this matter? Let me go back to parties. Carla Pepperman. Has remained mum in this case. So she has yet to file any orders herself in regard to any of these filings regarding the city's motion to dismiss or any of the plaintiff's filings. The judge has literally remained mum. So I don't know, nothing has happened in this case. He's just pretty much, it's not like he's just playing table tennis by himself. He's just, hitting that ball against the wall, just firing off all these filings with no response, again, other than the motion to dismiss from the city. And actually, I did not, when I posted that the city had filed a motion to dismiss on my Facebook page, I really didn't go into why they were stating that they could dismiss it. So let's go over that super quick in case you're interested. So defendant's motion to dismiss, they're saying in the first instance, plaintiff has named Mr. Purvis in his official capacity. Now, granted, this motion to dismiss was filed prior to the passing of Purvis. So anyway, in the first instance, plaintiff has named Mr. Purvis in his official capacity. However, in Florida, a suit against a defendant in his official capacity is in actuality a suit against the governmental entity which employs him. And then they gave some case law to back that up. 2, thus, the suit against defendant Purvis in his official capacity is the same as and duplicative of the claim against the defendant city. As such, the claims brought against defendant Purvis in his official capacity are due to be dismissed with prejudice. Now, when they say with prejudice means you can't bring this lawsuit against them ever again. Without prejudice would be you can file again at some other time, but they're wanting it dismissed with prejudice, and just to end it, never to be brought against them again. Since the city of Claremont is a named party and the official capacity claims are treated as claims against defendant city. Turning to the factual allegations pled, plaintiff appears to claim Mr. Purvis, while acting within the course and scope of his duties and powers as a city council member, made false statements in an email reply to plaintiff, and that Mr. Purvis acted with malice and reckless disregard. Plaintiff goes on to allege the city was negligent in failing to discipline Mr. Purvis for his actions. Based on these facts, plaintiff pleads the following claims, and they go into defamation, defamation of character, intentional infliction of emotional distress, gross negligence, and civil conspiracy. In the first instance, pursuant to Florida Statute 768.28, the state or its subdivisions shall not be liable in tort for the acts or omissions of an officer, employee, or agent committed with malicious purpose or in a manner exhibiting wanton and willful disregard of human rights, safety, or property. Accordingly, counts 1, 2, 3, and 5, all arising out of the alleged malicious statement made by Mr. Purvis while in the course and scope of his duties as a city official, are all due to be dismissed with prejudice, as plaintiff has alleged Mr. Purvis acted with malice in making the underlying statements. Moreover, pursuant to Florida Statute 768.28, not only has plaintiff specifically pled Mr. Purvis acted maliciously, claims for intentional infliction of emotional distress are barred against municipalities like defendant city. So they're trying to say that the city is barred, like you can't touch the city in regard to anything an elected official or employee does. Specifically, to state a claim under Florida law, plaintiff must allege 1, extreme and outrageous conduct, 2, an intent to cause or reckless disregard to the probability of causing emotional distress, 3, severe emotional distress suffered by the plaintiff, and 4, proof that the conduct causes severe emotional distress. So in applying the same to a cause of action for intentional infliction of emotional distress, the intent or reckless conduct requirement of the intentional infliction of emotional distress claim is the equivalent of willful and wanton conduct described in Florida Statute 768.28 subsection 9A. So basically they're saying that they're not, there's a lot of shit on here, but I don't want to bore you with all of these paragraphs here. But basically they're saying that they can't be held responsible for his actions as the city. They cannot be held. And then when he talks about the civil conspiracy, additionally, as to plaintiff's count 7 for civil conspiracy under the intra-corporate conspiracy doctrine, a corporation's employees acting as agents of the corporation are deemed incapable of conspiring among themselves or with the corporation. The reason behind the intra-corporate conspiracy doctrine is that it is impossible for a single legal entity to conspire with itself, just as an individual cannot conspire with himself. So there you go. And then, of course, this is signed by Patricia Rigo Chapman, which is, I'm guessing, okay, so they farmed this out. So this is not from Dan Manzares's law firm, which I find interesting that they farmed this case out to another law firm called Dean Ringers Morgan and Lawton. Interesting that we pay our city attorney to handle all of our legal issues, yet they're farming it out to these people. And I've seen them farm out several different lawsuits to different law firms, which is strange. Excuse me. Okay, so that's that. So he just bam, 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 bam. He's firing off these filings. No response from the judge. Not one peep from the judge since November. And of course, no peeps from the city since he has filed these additional filings. Okay, so moving on. Again, if you saw my post this morning, this will be just a reiteration. If you had not, then this will be new to you. So there is what I like to call the good old boy, and previously I've called him Douchey Darren, because that's what he is. Johnson. As you were aware, he's one of the good old boys. I deem him one of the good old boys because for years he's gotten away with whatever he wants. They actually come up with resolutions to allow him to do things If you remember when he came up with that, I used to call it the drunk mobile, that trolley. There are no, in the city of Claremont, we do not have the ability to utilize these types of trolleys on our city streets. But as soon as staff, particularly Davidoff, and I shared that letter with you, months and months and months and months ago, specifically Davidoff, who is our assistant city manager, position that we really don't need to have in this town, and that the taxpayers are paying additional, I think it's $160,000 a year for. We need to actually get rid of that position. But anyhow, I digress on that. It was him that, it was Scott Davidoff that brought this letter to the staff saying that he was advocating for golf carts previously, and I believe he also was instrumental in pushing this resolution to get this drunk mobile, aka trolley, on the streets of Claremont. But they had to come up with a resolution, right, to allow it. So in February, I know it was in February because actually I had attended a friend of mine's wedding that evening, and I could not be present at that specific council meeting. I want to say February of 2021, 2022. I'm trying to remember the year. I know it was February for sure because my friend got married. But they literally came up with this resolution just for Darren because they're all friends. Luckily, Purvis, of all people, came up with the idea, okay, we'll go ahead and accept this. We'll do this little resolution to allow these trolleys to grace our city streets, but I'm going to give you a year to test this out, see how it goes, see if it's safe, and all of that. So he put a year expiry on the resolution, and he said, if at that point it's going well, you need to come back, and then we will, and put it on the agenda again for us to approve. But right now we're just doing this as a test, just for a year. For some reason, Darren never got it off the ground. He did have a website set up. He actually had a tour. You could actually make, you could make not an appointment, but like a reservation to ride on this trolley and have your little alcohol and all of that going on. Apparently no one ever signed up for reservations. I don't know, or he just kind of dropped the whole deal because it never came to fruition. He had the trolley. The resolution, of course, was in place for him, thanks to his friends at City Hall. But it never went to fruition. I don't know why. Darren, public record, lakecountyclerk.org, public record. He likes to borrow money from people per public record and not pay them back per public record. And get sued. And so I think maybe he was short on money and just couldn't have it come to fruition. I don't know. I feel like he got overextended with everything that he was trying to build in the downtown area. It was like a game of Monopoly, in my opinion, for Mr. Johnson. He was just trying to buy up, Boardwalk and Park Place and all these other places, just trying to buy them all up and do all of his massive shit. As you are aware, he bought a parcel for a spa, which never came to fruition. That died in the water. And actually, if you remember, in regard to Johnson's Market that just got finished just several months ago, initially when that was brought before the council, it was a PUD. And he was supposed to have the marketplace on the bottom and apartments on the top. Do you remember this? It seems like he never, when he goes to get things passed by council, he never actually does what he proposes, right? So he just built the market. And I think, in my personal opinion, is he just didn't have the money to do it. Case in point, when he bought the Mulberry Inn, a young lady that I met during my campaign last year, lovely, beautiful young lady, absolutely stunning young lady. I think she probably was in her early 30s, actually purchased that. Super sweet. She'd come up to me and talk to me, and she wanted to make it into a bed and breakfast type of situation, but she was having a hard time, she said, with the fire department in regard to the stoves in each individual room. So she had to bow out of that and try to sell. So here comes Darren Johnson. Well, Darren Johnson didn't have a lot of money, probably didn't have any backing because people know better than to give that guy money. Again, public record. So I pulled up the contract last summer and found out that what happened with the, which is now with the Cabanas, that he gave her a down payment. I believe it was $40,000, and he wasn't going to pay her any monthly payments. She's actually holding the note. She has an LLC. And so she's holding the note currently for him on the Mulberry Inn. And he gave her a down payment of $40,000. No payments monthly since this. And that's how this contract is written up. It's very, I wouldn't have done it. It was kind of dumb, but I think she probably was very trusting. Again, very sweet young lady. So she probably trusted him, and he's a businessman, right? So no monthly payments, but he was to make a balloon payment in several years to pay off the loan. And I believe, don't quote me on this, if I'm just trying to go based off of memory, it's been a year or so. I believe the sale price may have been like $600,000. I'm not quite sure. Don't quote me on that, but around that range. So again, I think he paid her like $40,000 down, and then no payments at all. And then at the like I said, a balloon payment toward the end. So my question is, what is he going to do with these cabanas? But anyway, case in point, Mr. Johnson is bowing out of his Monopoly game in the downtown area. So I posted today, he is selling everything. So he's selling his entire business portfolio, inclusive of CBC, which is $2.5 million. He's asking Southern on the 8th. Rumor has it on the streets that his partner on Southern on the 8th, and I think there's actually two partners, but one in particular hates his guts. There's a feud between the two of them, and that may or may not, I don't know, facilitated the sale of that restaurant. But that's on the cutting board there for sale. Everything. And again, his trolley is for sale if you want to buy that. I believe that he's asking $49,000 for his trolley. And then, of course, Johnson's Market, he's asking $4.5 million for. It's just, to me, it's just a shitty building with a dog shampooing machine thing on the outside and some tables. I don't know why he thinks that's worth $4.5 million. Don't know. So everything, his entire business portfolio is for sale. So if you're interested and you're into the real estate, or you're a developer or whatever, and you want to pick up some properties, well, there you go. His entire portfolio is for sale. Now, the question is, of course, everybody's wondering why. And I did list some reasons on my Facebook page. Well, maybe he's tired and wants to retire and just move. Bye-bye. See ya. Take your son-in-law with you. 2, he has, last time I saw him was in December, the last council meeting in December, and he did lose quite a bit of weight, probably the size of a small child in weight. And so he might be ill. I don't know. Or 3, he has completely overextended himself financially, and he's stressing out, hence the weight loss. And he just needs to sell because he's getting ready to go into foreclosure. Nothing's been filed yet. I have checked in Lake County records, but maybe it's coming. And before, he loses his ass, he wants to try to sell. I don't know. Nobody knows the reason. And in my personal opinion, I don't really care what the reason is, as long as he goes bye-bye and we can get a decent owner in the downtown that's like decent and not a shyster and not a good old boy and not a piece of shit. I would like to see a good, wholesome buyer come in and purchase all of them. That would be great, and get some good, decent people in the downtown area for once. We already have one developer who's decent, and that's the only people, in my personal opinion, that are decent. Which is VP Development. They are for the people, and they're not shysters. And regardless of what you think of the parking lot situation in their West End marketplace, I can see why they did what they did. People were utilizing their parking lot for other city businesses and not theirs. And so if that's your personal parking lot and people are utilizing it to go to other places, I call bullshit. And leaving their dirty diapers there of their children, which is gross and disgusting. You have to clean that up. I don't blame them. So fight me on that. So I know there was a lot of people pissed off at them, and it is what it is, but that was my parking lot. I'd chain it off too and be like, fuck you. Just my personal opinion. So that's going on with Darren Johnson. So again, no one knows why, but his entire business portfolio is for sale. Now, lastly, we're just going to bring up the MLK thing. I thought it was pretty interesting. In the last several days, actually, I went back on the City of Claremont's page because, as you are aware, they are one of the sponsors for MLK. Now, you can fight me on this too, and I give zero fucks what anybody thinks, and I just say out loud what everyone's thinking. I don't think we should be paying for any of this bullshit. Fight me. Juneteenth, MLK, even red, white, and boom. I don't think that the city taxpayers should be paying for parties. I've said this for like a year now, once at the podium, and I think I made Sharon Key's head explode because she's all for the Juneteenth thing. She's a big Murray fan. Of course, she's black. There's that. Yes, I said it. Don't care. She pretty much lost her breakfast after I went up to the podium this past summer and bitched about it. Like, I don't think we should be paying for Juneteenth. Let Lincoln Park Alliance pay for it. Let Lincoln Park Alliance pay for it. They're all for it. Let them pay for it because it's not a real holiday. Again, fight me. Red, white, and boom. Okay, why should the taxpayers be paying for that when probably, I would say 80 to 90% of the folks that show up for that aren't even Claremont residents. Claremont residents tend to stay home because they're like, well, we don't want to mess with that traffic. It's a shit show down there. I'm staying home. I'm not messing with that, but our tax dollars pays for it, while Groveland and Mineola and maybe even Winter Garden folks are piling down there at the waterfront to enjoy our taxpayers' dollars. And then the last budget hearing, actually, I think it was the workshop, they discussed how great it was. The turnout was wonderful, and we paid $80,000 this time, and that next year, Balsack, aka Bull Tice, our city manager, wants to double that for next year. Why? Why are we paying for parties? You know what? Let organizations and businesses pay for this shit. Let them sponsor it. Let 10 businesses in the Claremont area sponsor Red, White, and Boom. Let Lincoln Park Alliance sponsor Juneteenth and MLK. Let them sponsor that shit, and businesses as well. You can't leave businesses out of that. If other businesses want to sponsor that, let them sponsor it. Taxpayers should not sponsor parties. Fight me on that. I don't give a shit. We could save so much money if we just got rid of the parties and let businesses sponsor that shit. And then even light up Claremont. Don't think the taxpayers should pay for that. Don't think the taxpayers should pay for that $25,000. Yes, it costs $25,000. That tree at City Hall, $25,000. 25 grand for that tree. Let businesses pay for that. Or Main Street. Let Main Street get involved and get some donors for it, or some whatever the donations they get. Let them handle that. And then we can say, and I'm just making this up, like, Fernandez Tacos and some law firm or whatever sponsored this event. Let's give them a hand and have their banners everywhere. Not the taxpayers. I'm sorry. This is why our millage rates go up and everybody's mortgage payments have gone up $1,000 or so a month because taxes, and of course, our stupid ass state of Florida, our insurance on our homes. We can't afford this shit. Stop it. And again, I'm going to reiterate it. Let's get rid of Scott Davidoff's position. Not because it's Scott Davidoff, but just because it's a stupid position and he does nothing. He does nothing that Debbie can't do, which is the secretary of the city manager. Okay? So anyway, the MLK thing. Sorry, I got off on my little soapbox, but facts are facts. to mimic Michelle Pines the other night. The MLK parade. Okay, again, we sponsored that along with Lincoln Park Alliance and some black motorcycle gang, for lack of a better term, motorcycle group. They sponsored it. So obviously, because it's a parade, we are blocking off streets. So we're having to have additional workers do that, put the barricades up or whatever. We have to have police presence. We have to have a fire engine present in case there's some kind of medical emergency. We've got Parks and Rec folks that need to come in after the fact to clean up the shit left behind by this wonderful event, right? So it's costing the city tax dollars. And for this wonderful event, I did peek in courtesy again of South Lake TV, who big shout out to them. And they are no way in with me at all. This is just my personal opinion. I don't want to say that they're part of me and he's part of, and I'm part of them or whatever, but I do give props to South Lake TV, Jay Bryan, South Lake TV, because thanks to him, these events are broadcast live for those people that can't get out of the home to actually go, or who are lazy and just don't want to go, but kind of want to peek in on what's going on in Claremont. So big up to Jay Bryan with South Lake TV. So I peeked in on his little live stream today, and there really was, from what I was seeing in his camera view, there was nobody lining the streets to watch this parade. And I'm sure if I FOIA request it, we paid with overtime and so forth. I'm sure we paid at the very least $5,000, at the very least. And that's at the very bottom rung, very least $5,000 for this parade. Okay. And I didn't see anyone lining the streets. Nobody. Now down at the waterfront, there were booths set up, and if I had to guess, I would say maybe 150 people were present, maybe. And at the pavilion, of course, there was Murray all bright and shiny and had to introduce his wife and have her speak. And Chandra spoke, of course, and then Gonzalez spoke. He spoke for all of maybe 1 minute because he had to type out a sentence or two because he's stupid and can't memorize shit and was reading off of a fucking card. So there was that. And I'm going to play a couple of clips of this just to give you an idea of the excitement behind it. Just, again, I'm not a big fan of parties with the taxpayers' dollars. I don't give a shit what it is, whether it's Christmas, Red, White, and Boom, the fake holiday Juneteenth. Again, fight me. And this MLK thing. I'm not a big fan. I'm just not, because let businesses put the money up for that. Let people sponsor that shit. We don't need to be paying for that. So I'm just going to go ahead now. I'm just going to show you some clips of the MLK, what your tax dollars helped pay for today, which was absolutely kind of nothing. And again, this was courtesy. I'm using clips from South Lake TV.
Hi, Mickey. It's my son, Jacob. Good morning, Mayor. Doing well. Hello, hello. Full car. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We're going to have a welcome by our own mayor. Look at the person sitting next to you and say, our own mayor. Say it again. And one more time. Mayor Tim Murray of Claremont, Florida. Come on, let's give it up for the mayor. Woo! Thank you, Mayor Murray. Bean reminded me of something when I went over there. Mayor Murray fixed it, but he was being modest about it, so I need to reiterate. So Bean says to me when I go over there, he's the first African-American mayor in Claremont. I said, oh, that's right. So Mayor Murray did say that, but since he's Mayor Murray, he's not going to toot his horn too loudly. So I'm going to toot it a little bit louder for him. Mayor Tim Murray is the first African-American mayor of Claremont, Florida. Murray is second term. I know P. Cole got my back. He said, you're right, just in case y'all didn't hear.
I got your back too, honey. Yeah.
All right, we are moving right along. In this next segment, we're going to be welcomed by our city officials, and we begin by hearing from Councilman Michael Gonzalez, C1. Let us give him an applause as he comes to the right.
Hello, everybody. On this great day here, celebrating the great Dr. Martin Luther King, let us not forget all the achievements of his hard work. We must strive to remember his message of equality and justice for all Americans. All Americans. It's great to see the community enjoy this great day and come as one. So let's all God bless and enjoy this great day and enjoy each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Gonzalez. And so that I don't have to keep coming and going, I'm going to go ahead and announce the individuals who will be coming to address us. And so just hear the order, and when it's your turn, you can just step right on up to the podium, okay? So, our next voice, or the next voice that you are going to hear is from Councilwoman. Can all the ladies say woman? Chandra Myers, C4. After she speaks, you will hear from Councilwoman. Can somebody say woman? Michelle Bernard Pines, C5. After which, we will hear from City Manager Brian, and everybody always crucifies his name. So I'm just going to, no disrespect, I'm just going to call him Brian B. He knows who he is. Then we will hear from our Chief of Police, Charles, a.k.a. Chuck Broadway, and after which we will hear from our County Commissioner, Sean Parks, in that order.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be before you. I want to pay homage to the great late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. One of the things that he has done, he's done many things, but one of the things that directly affects me is that, and some of you all will relate to this, I am the first in my family to be born with my full civil rights. My parents didn't have their civil rights, my grandparents did, my great-grandparents did. That's major, to tell you how far we've come. I also would like to share, because of him, building on what he has done, I am the first Black woman to win Claremont City Council here in Florida. It's an honor to be before you. I'm just amazed at all of the things that this great man has done for our nation. And we still have things that we have to do. And as you all know, one of his main hallmarks was voting. As you know, voting has been under attack. We've had voter suppression throughout these last several years. So if you haven't registered to vote, make sure that you register. Make sure that you vote every time there is an election, whether you like the people or not, or find out about them. Vote. Voting matters. This man bled, was jailed, beaten, as many others were, so that we could have the right to vote, so we can decide who we want to represent us. It's important. Don't think that, oh, my vote doesn't matter, your vote does matter. Why do you think they're trying to suppress it? Why do you think that? It's because your vote matters. So please make sure every time there's an election, you cast your vote. Thank you, and God bless.
Okay, well, there you go. I mean, great little speeches, looked super packed to me. Anyway, so this was just, like I said, I was just going to come on and give you an update on some of the stuff that's going on in regard, again, to the lawsuit, Darren Johnson, and what your tax dollars are being spent on. But anyway, and again, if you didn't hear on my last podcast with the special election since the passing of Mr. Purvis, if you are interested in running for his seat, you can pick up a packet at City Hall in, March 4th, 4, 5, 6, March 4th, I believe. And then you have to qualify by March 8th. So that whole week. But they did say you could pick up a packet early because somebody already picked up one, and they had to justify, you can pick up one early. So if you pick up on one early, you just have to fill out the DES 90 form, which is, again, choosing your campaign treasurer. It's a form which you always fill out anyways, so I don't understand why they're saying as long as you fill out that form, you can pick up a packet early. It's like, you fill out that form anyway. But whatevs. And then, of course, the special election, I wanted to remind you, is in May. So if we have more than two people running, of course, we'll have two separate elections. So we'll have a special election in May for the primary, and then normally nobody wins 50 plus 1% of the vote. So there'll be a second election. I believe they said that would be held in August, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're interested to pick up a packet, that's when you can go down to City Hall, second floor, and ask for Tracy, the city clerk, and she'll give you a packet. With that being said, thank you for tuning in, and until next time, behave and take care. Bye-bye now.